My name is Ron Wilstein, and I'm a broker with Keller Williams Luxury Properties here in Park City, Utah. Each year I present my predictions for the Park City real estate market for the upcoming year, and so today I want to share with you my thoughts for 2020. I want to give you two things here in this presentation. Number one, I want to share with you an overview of the Park City real estate market looking back at 2019, and then share with you my forecast for the market for 2020. So let's take a look at the real estate market. The Park City real estate market is mixed, and so we need to take a closer look at it. Over the past 12 months, there's been 1,406 sales. Now this is homes, condominiums, and vacant land. This is all real estate brokerages combined, and that is up 10% or 129 sales from the 12-month period the year before. This graph here breaks down the number of closed sales, and I've given you the categories of homes, condominiums, and vacant land or lots. The red bar represents the period of January through December 2019, so the calendar year of 2019. The silver bar represents 2018. And you can see that home sales are up by 6%, climbing from 518 sales to last year 549 sales. We see a huge jump in condominiums, climbing from 588 to 741. That's a 26% increase year over year. But when it comes to lots, it's a decrease from 171 the year before to 116 last year. Now do keep in mind there isn't that much vacant land in Park City and in the Snyderville Basin. And what we saw in the previous year is prices for homes and condos went up so high, or at least sellers were trying to get such a high price, that buyers considered the alternative of purchasing land, which they did. Prices have adjusted somewhat and become a little more reasonable. As a result, the number of sales have gone up for homes and condos, but the lots have dropped off. But let's take a look at property values and what's been happening in the marketplace on values. Here we're looking at home medium sold prices. This time I've broken it up into Park City, the Snyderville Basin, which is the county area of Park City. In the city limits, sales are actually down year over year by 6%, dropping from $2,064,000 to $1,950,000 as the medium sold price. In the Snyderville Basin, we saw a 3% increase, climbing from $1,232,500 to $1,270,000. This graph here shows us condominiums. Again, in the Park City limits, actually a decrease by 11%, from $885,000 to a median price now of $784,500. But a significant increase in the Snyderville Basin, 18%, climbing from the previous $550,000 to now $649,000. So we can see that bit of a drop off in prices in the city limits for homes and condos, but in the county, actually up. Here we're looking at vacant land. You recall that the number of sales dropped off significantly, but you can see both in the city limits and in the Snyderville Basin, prices actually rose. 6% in the city limits, climbing from the previous $1,035,000 median price all the way up to $1,100,000. But this is not a lot of properties. There were only 19 sales of lots in the city limits in 2019. Snyderville Basin, an 8% increase there, climbing from the previous $493,000 up to the new $530,000 median price. Finally, I want to share with you average time on the market. And this is a nice indicator because it shows us how quickly properties are selling and what happens if you overprice properties. 116 days on average is how long it takes homes to sell in Park City. Some faster, some slower, but that's the average figure. It's not bad. It's a little bit less than 4 months. Compare that to 285 days. That's the number of days that homes are on the market without selling, still have not sold on average. So it climbs from approximately, just under 4 months if you price your property correctly, to over 8.5 months, and that's without selling it. Just an indicator that in our marketplace we have probably 2 out of 3 homes are overpriced enough not to sell, and so they sit on the market for a long time. They don't move. Whereas you price your property correctly, it moves relatively quickly. I want to share my predictions for the Park City real estate market in 2020, and I'll do this by first responding to a number of questions I'm frequently asked, and then mention a wild card that is a factor outside of Park City that may influence the Park City real estate market. So let's begin with the questions. What is my overall outlook for the Park City real estate market in 2020? Well, the Park City real estate market is strong, and it has been for many years, but it's definitely going through certain changes. Demand to live in Park City is as strong as it's ever been, and that will continue in the new year. But at the same time, sellers have been trying to get very high prices for their properties, and buyers will hold firm, resisting purchasing overpriced properties. So while there's demand to live here, doesn't mean buyers will pay any price in order to do so. There is definitely a separation between those who list and those who want to sell. Listers don't need to sell their properties. They can put it on the market. If it sells, fine. If it doesn't sell, that's fine too. And in the high end of the market, the above $2 million price range, we see a lot of that. On the other hand, sellers adjust their price to the market in order to sell, so their motivation is different. What will be the hottest property types in 2020? Well, historically, single-family homes are, and they consist of either primary residences or second homes. But the statistics that we shared with you already suggest condominiums will be leading the way. And this is really, all the times I've been doing predictions, is the first time I've seen the condos take such a dominant role in the future market for the new year. There are many, many new condominium projects out there, along with new homes, but they represent a lot of the choices for today's buyers. New developments are competition for older properties and existing properties, particularly for those that have not been upgraded, and so they will have an impact on the marketplace. Related to that is, where do I see property values going in 2020? Well, homes under $2 million will continue to appreciate, probably at about 8 to 10%, which is a little bit lower actually than the last couple of years in Park City, but still well above what the nation would like to see for their own appreciation in other places. So good, strong appreciation in the Park City real estate market, certainly among those properties that have sold. We do have a segment of the population, overpriced, doesn't sell, don't get it, they don't get the appreciation. Sellers of higher price properties will have to start lowering their list prices to sell, and so I do anticipate seeing that, and we are already seeing it. Newer homes and condos will be the competition for the old properties. This is going to impact property value. New properties will continue to set new record high sold prices. Some of them are just higher than the previous years. Some are higher quality properties. We expect that will continue. Flip side of that is, older properties that have not been remodeled will need to be upgraded, or they will sell for approximately 15 to 20% lower than the new property prices. So new homes and condo sales will lead the way in 2020. Many buyers will prefer to purchase new properties. We've always seen that here. And those new properties will be competition for the older ones, and it will impact their value. Will the time it takes to sell properties change in 2020? Well, we know that correctly priced properties sell in 116 days on average or less. That I don't expect to change. That's been pretty steady throughout 2019 and even 2018. Overpriced properties will not sell. There's definitely more resistance than in previous years. And there's about maybe a 10% over the recent sale price that a property can be listed at before buyers slam on the brakes and have no interest in purchasing it. That may even be dropping some. So keep that in mind as we go into the new year. And then there's always the question, how do interest rates impact the real estate market? Are they going to go up in 2020? And I expect them to remain low. Primarily, we've got the upcoming presidential election. It's not a likely time where we're going to see hikes in interest rates. And this will be positive for real estate in Park City as well as nationwide. And do keep in mind that 50% of all sales in Park City are cash, and this is particularly true among the higher end of the range. And so financing doesn't play as much of a role in our marketplace here as it does in other places. Last question. Will Woodward Park City impact our real estate market in 2020? Now, you may or may not be familiar with Woodward Park City, but this is Park City's newest resort. It was built or expanded upon the Gargozo 2 Park there on off of I-80 and near Parley Summit and near Summit Park. Anyway, very, very interesting project, very exciting resort. Woodward Park City has an action sports park, mountain park, which is year-round, indoor and outdoor activity, still has a tubing park. It's open 365 days a year, and it is really quite exciting. We're going to show you a video in a moment so you can get a glimpse as to what goes on at that new facility. But Park City has always been a breeding ground for Olympians and athletes. We have often had the highest per capita Olympians anywhere in the world during the Olympic Games. And so we're very good between the Park City Resort, between Deer Valley, between the Utah Winter Sport Park, between Soldier Hollow, which is nearby, between the Winter School, which is a school in Park City for athletes, so they go to school during the summer and they're training during the winter. We create Olympians. That's just what we do. And I see Woodward Park City having a huge impact on it, both winter and summer sports, because, well, you'll see that it is a year-round resort. And we're going to create more athletes and Olympians, and families will come to Park City, as they always have, to train Olympians. So this will find its way to impacting our real estate market as well. Finally, I want to mention a wild card, and last year there were a number of wild cards. This year, not as many, but maybe the biggest wild card of all, and that is President Trump. Obviously, he's been impeached, and we're still seeing the battles kind of go between Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell. We have no idea what impact this is really going to have on our country. We have no idea whether Trump's going to be reelected. So there's just a lot of unknowns, and I think anything that happens around that subject is going to impact everywhere in the world, and that includes Park City. So time will tell. I'm hopeful. I hope that these predictions give you some insight and direction. I'm more than happy to talk to you about this stuff, get your thoughts on it, answer any questions you may have. So don't hesitate to give me a call. Let's take a look at Woodward Park City. It's located off of Interstate 80 by Parley Summit in Summit Park. And you can see some pictures here, lots of activity. It's an indoor-outdoor park, and it's kind of a dream come true for certainly the locals and maybe for some parents, because it's kind of babysitting for the kids, but they do some fun things. Here we're looking at some pictures of the outside Train Park, where we've got lots of activities. And what are your thoughts on this, Dean?
Well, and watching this and seeing Woodward myself, it certainly makes me wish that I was 20 to 25 years younger again, because I remember growing up in Park City, we didn't have any of this stuff, but we all of us kids still love to BMX bike, skateboard, rollerblade, ski, build jumps, do all that stuff, but we were left to our own devices to find places to do that, where now the kids have this beautiful park to be able to attend and just experience and get better and progress at their sport. It's really impressive.
And, you know, during the summer, of course, there'll be mountain biking and the BMX and other activities on the outside. This is open 365 days a year, and it's really very impressive. When I was there for the grand opening, it's just amazing all the stuff that they do here. And I really see this as a huge draw for Park City and for athletes and for Olympians. Park City has the highest per capita for Olympians for the Winter Games historically, and this is just going to be a breeding ground for athletes, and it's really quite impressive.
Yeah, all these foam pits that you see people jumping into, that little guy there. But on the bikes, the snowboards, the skis, these kids or young adults are able to perfect their tricks or hone in their skill into the foam pits with less risk. And then they could take it to the mountain just outside and transfer what they've learned in the park in the safety of the park and foam pits onto the hillside. And it's just a much safer, very exciting. We're going to see the sport progress even more than it already has. And like you said, Ron, a lot of Olympians, because the younger generations really enjoy watching these activities in the Olympics. They are now in the Olympics and big events. It's just super exciting to watch.